Hello and welcome back to my channel. So I was really putting a lot of thought into this video because it was like, what do I upload as my first video as a 25-year-old? You know, like what do I really work on first? And then I was thinking about it and I was like, man, like 25 is really your mid-20s. And as someone who doctors really aggressively told my parents, like, she's not going to live past infancy, you know, 25 is pretty old. And I'm quite proud of that. People treat age like it's something to be like embarrassed at, or like don't tell people how old you are, or, you know, hide signs of aging. But I've always seen it the opposite way. Like, be proud of how old you are. You know, I don't know. I think there's something beautiful about age. Maybe it's because I wasn't supposed to live very long, but regardless. So I really wanted this video to mean a lot. And so when I was thinking about it, I decided for this video to do kind of like things that I've learned now that I'm 25. Sort of like an advice I would give to my 13-year-old self kind of video. What do I know now that I wish I knew when I was starting high school? And I guess you kind of have to go through all of those life experiences and whatnot to figure these things out, but, you know, this is what I figured out. Some of it might be relatable to other people, some of it might not. Keep in mind that I am a small, white, cisgendered female in a motorized wheelchair with a physical disability, so take for that what you will. I made a list at 1 o'clock in the morning in my phone. So the first point that I wanted to mention is a quote that I've used on my channel before, and that's go where you're wanted. I spent a lot of time throughout my life trying to be friends with and fit in with people that I just didn't naturally fit in with. People who were nice to me, like they weren't mean to me, but they clearly didn't want me around as much as I wanted to be around them. And why was I wasting my time with that? Especially now, like looking at my life now, I have so many people that I adore hanging out with and I adore being around, and they invite me places and want me around, and it's just like, you know, that's what it feels like to be wanted. And I wish I had, instead of spending so much time back then forcing myself into situations and people's lives that clearly didn't want me around, I wish I had spent that time finding people who did want me around, you know? Maybe that place was somewhere that I wasn't expecting it, but I just should have looked for it, you know? Piggybacking off of that, I mean, when you force yourself into situations in people's lives and that sort of thing where you're not really wanted, you're not really fully being yourself. And I feel like so many people tell you to be yourself, blah, 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 but really be yourself. It is so much more fun if you are 100% yourself at all times. And even if that means sitting by yourself every now and then because you don't always fit in everywhere, you know, it's so worth it, especially to me, to be silly sometimes and serious other times. And it's just, I feel so much better even in like a mental health way if I'm myself all the time. Even if that doesn't mean that I'm 100% on at all moments. You know, back when I was in high school, I would try so hard to be that 100% on type girl at all times, even when it wasn't coming naturally to me. And it really caused me a lot of stress, and I wish I hadn't. I wish I had just let myself be lazy when I wanted to be lazy and let myself be down when I wanted to be down instead of pushing myself to be that all the time. Natural human life has ebbs and flows, and I wish I would have let that happen with my human moods. And also there's this weird stigma, if I can go into this too, around silliness and femininity and all of that, and it's seen as less than, and it's like a branch, if you will, of misogyny, because these things are technically, you know, typically considered more female things, and so I would always try to hide that, suppress that a little bit more. And I don't like that. Like, I like being the girl who wears pink a lot and has a pink chair and has Hello Kitty on her desk at work. I mean, at the same time, I have like a jack-o'-lantern background, and, you know, I'm very much so both extremes and nothing in between. But, you know, that's who I am, and I really hate that I tried to like suppress those sides for so long to fit in and be normal and to make myself, you know, suppress different parts of me that I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I had just let myself be more myself at all times, you know? Another part of that is not being afraid to embarrass yourself. I think a lot of people are afraid of being embarrassed. And honestly, embarrassing myself is one of my favorite things to do. Especially when you're a teenager, like, you think about, you know, but what if they laugh at me? And now I think, like, okay, what if they laugh at me? Like, that's the worst that's gonna happen? Okay. And I do stupid things. Like, you remember the Pale Man video I uploaded in October? Younger me would have never have done that, because that's so stupid. But, you know, it's so much fun. There's so much laughter to have in embarrassing yourself. And I used to have this rule where I wouldn't do karaoke because I take it too seriously because I'm Rachel Berry in my heart, and that is still true, but I would heckin' do it now. I embarrass myself on probably a daily basis at this point, and it's awesome. It's so much fun. People laugh, and it hurts a lot less once you learn to not take yourself so seriously. Everybody embarrasses themselves. But if you can learn to be confident enough in yourself that you embarrass yourself and it doesn't matter to you, that's true armor. Because if you're free of embarrassment, nothing can hurt you. One of my worst things with that is I drop food on myself all the time. Like, I don't know how to eat, and then my boobs are so big, and it's just like there's always food going on in this region. And so now I just learned to laugh at it. You know, I used to really be embarrassed about it when I was younger, and now I just drop food on myself, and I'm like, great. You know, you just learn to let these things not bother you so much. I think a big piece of that people don't like to embarrass themselves is because they're afraid of that. And so my next point is not letting fear control everything you do. And I know that that's difficult for a lot of us. I take medication for anxiety as well. There's so many layers to that, but you know what I mean? Very surface level. You can't let fear of little things stop you from living your life. Once you let the fact that you're afraid of something take over, that's it. It owns you now. If you watch my channel, you know that in the beginning of December, I leaned forward a little bit to fix my pant leg or something, and my seatbelt on my chair broke, and I fell on my face. And I have never fallen out of my chair before. It's always been one of my biggest fears to fall out of my chair, and it finally happened. And I've gone back to mostly functioning, but even still, if I look down, I see the floor come at my face really fast. I still suffer with a little bit of that post-traumatic stress, if you will, because it's scary. And I was very lucky that the only thing that got injured was my ankle, but it could have been way worse because I'm breakable and I am actually Humpty Dumpty. But, that fear, especially in the beginning, especially, a week after I fell out of my chair, I was very tempted to just stay in my bed as long as possible and not go back into the real world because I was afraid of falling again. But, I really hate to use one of those cheesy lines, but I mean, you fall over, you gotta get back up, right? And so even still, every day, if I drop something, I will go get a grabber thing or ask someone for help, because even if I look down at it and I think I can grab it, it's not worth it. I look down and I feel like I'm gonna vomit because the floor comes at me so fast. But I still have to go out and I still have to do things. I still have to go to my job, and I can't let that fear of falling control everything I do, or else I'm never gonna do anything. And I've always been someone who was sort of those two points together. Been afraid, really afraid of embarrassing myself or looking like a fool or looking silly or what have you. And now you just gotta learn to live with it sometimes. My next point is failing is awesome. I really think failing is underrated. We had the story in the news this past couple of weeks about all of those celebrities who paid too much money for their kids to get into schools that they weren't really smart enough for. I don't get that from a parenting standpoint. I understand, this is not news. Rich people have always paid money for their kids to get into schools that they're probably not actually intelligent enough to get into. That's not news. But I've never understood it from a parenting standpoint, because I think as a parent, I would rather my kid apply to that school and not get in and get that rejection letter, because that teaches you something. If you wanted to get into that school, you have to work harder, You have to be better, or it's just, maybe it's just not meant to be. Maybe you're meant to go to a different school. Every time in my life that I really wanted something and really worked hard for something and really, really, really wanted it, and it's fallen through, it really sucks at the time, but looking back at it, I'm almost always happier that it happened that way. Because, well, A, things wouldn't have turned out now the way that they are if whatever had happened. And B, knowing how it feels to not get something, I think it makes people a better person. Those, the Veruca Salts of the world who get everything that they want at all times. We hate those kids. Those are the kids whose parents pay all that money to get them into the school that they're not smart enough to get into. They need to be told no sometimes. I understand that you love your kid. I understand that you want your kid to have the best, but kids need to be told no sometimes. You need to be told that you can't do this, or else they're going to grow up into shits. Just saying. And so every time that I failed, it just makes me work harder for the next thing. Work hard. Always work hard. But, don't work yourself to death. This society, for some reason, seems to congratulate people who work so hard that they drive themselves nuts. And I don't think that's right, and I don't think that's normal, and I don't think that's healthy. When I was in high school, I was the head of literally every extracurricular. I was president of this, that, the other, you name it, I was in it, and I was boss of it. Not only that, but I was working on getting straight A's. And attempting to have friends. How did I do it all? I think I was just really stressed the whole time and really tired. And I don't think any of it was worth it. I mean, at 25, I can't really put any of my high school extracurriculars on my resume anymore. So, like, what was the point of it all? I had some great memories, but I really feel like I could have dropped one or two things. Felt better. And, you know, all of that stress would have gone away. You know, part of self-care is taking care of that mental health aspect of it. And so if I have a lot of work to do, I will, you know, maybe not shoot a video that day. Or I'll save video shooting for the weekend because I'm not actually working. And, you know, like, it's just, I kind of try to space things out more so that I have a lot of downtime to just kind of sit in here and hang out and just vegetate in my own sort of pajama and no makeup, face mask state. That's how I want to be, and that's how I always want to be, and that's me practicing self-care. And I wish I could go back and tell high school Abby, like, stop, like, you're just, why are you doing this? Like, you don't need to do all of these things. You can take a break. High school Abby also struggled with this idea that you had to fit, like, one type of person. Like, you had to be, you know, like in teen movies where it's always, like, there's the jock and the cheerleader and the nerd and the this and the that. I always thought I had to fit, like, one of those, so I went for kind of, like, not brainiac, but like one of those types of kids who was like really involved in school, like that sort of thing. And I've even struggled with that, like as I've gotten older, and I struggle with it all the time because it's like I'll clean out my closet and not know which clothes to keep and which ones to get rid of because I don't know what type of look I want to be. What is Abby's look? What is her style? And the reality of the situation is it can be whatever I want on any given day. You know, I don't have to decide to be a full face of makeup all day, every day. I can have a full face of makeup one day and hardly any makeup the next day. It doesn't matter. I can wear all pink today and a bright pinky purpley lipstick. And then tomorrow I can wear all black if I want to. You know, I treated it like there were these rules, but there aren't these rules. I could really do whatever I want. Just because there are some people who are very this and very that doesn't mean I have to be that way. I don't have to be the perfect goth Halloween girl every day. And I also don't have to be the perfect, like all pink everything every day either. I can be a little bit of both. And I wish I had known that back then because I feel like I would have had a much easier time with my style. Because I tried really hard to like fit one look all the time, even if it didn't fit what I wanted to look like that day, you know? Now I change my outfits and my makeup look based on how I just want to look that day, but before it was like, no, I'm wearing pink eyeshadow, and I'm wearing this, and I'm wearing that, like, regardless of how I actually wanted to look at the time. Another thing that I would love to go back and tell high school Abby especially, and college Abby a little bit, but she knew a little bit better, is that, you know, like, don't be afraid to ask questions. Even still, it's something that I've gotten much better at now, but like, you know, when you ask questions in class and you feel like you've asked too many and you start to feel dumb, 90% of the time, everyone else has the same questions as you. And you get to find that in life as you get older as well. Like, if they're explaining something to you at work or anywhere, like, at the time, if something doesn't click for you, there's someone else in the room it doesn't click for. And you're going to help them by asking the question. Brief little aside, funny story for you. When I was in grade 11, which is the last year you like mandatorily had to take math. My math teacher, I had the same one all the way through high school, and he was a sweetheart. Like, please understand, I super like this guy. I had been a pretty good math student up to that point, but that year I was really struggling. Like, I was having a hard time. So my friend Kaylee and I, what we started doing was, the math class was after lunch, so we talked to the teacher, and what we started doing was spending the lunch period in the math classroom with him. He would eat his lunch, and we would kind of do the homework from the day before with the teacher so he could help walk us through it. And we started doing that, and my marks started getting better. They never really got that great that year. I tried really, really hard. And sometimes I think he was a little more lenient with my marks because he knew how hard I was trying. But the point of the story is, by the end of the semester, we had half to 3/4 of the class in that lunch period with us, because clearly once other people started to find out that we were doing this in order to, you know, boost our marks because we were having a hard time, other people had the same questions we had, so they came in too and stayed and needed that extra math help. You know, maybe that wouldn't have been necessary if we had just started asking the questions in class, but it was nice to have that extra period anyway. So the point of the story is, you know, if you need help, ask for it. If you need clarification on something, ask for it. You have just as much of a right as everyone else to get the answer, to figure the thing out. And I think especially as someone with a physical disability, sometimes I hesitate to ask for help when I need it because I have to ask for help a lot, so I feel like I'm like a burden or whatever asking for help all the time. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that A, half the time I'm asking for help because if I do it myself, it's unsafe, hence, you know, the whole falling out of my chair thing. And sort of like B, the really great people in my life don't mind if they have to help me because they know that I'm asking for help with something I can't do by myself, or else I would just do it by myself. If I can't get something open or I need to go to the bathroom or something, like, I do have a right to get those things in order. And other people are great enough to help me regardless. So don't be afraid to ask for help or clarification or anything when you need it. And my very last piece of advice to younger me, from 25-year-old me, is this. And it's a line that I heard that I don't know where it originated, but it's fantastic. The only two people you ever have to impress are your 5-year-old self and your 80-year-old self. No one else's opinion matters. What they say, what they do, doesn't matter. What they think of you, doesn't matter. Do they like my outfit? Doesn't matter. Would 80-year-old me like my outfit? Yeah, she probably would. Would 5-year-old me like my outfit? It's a pink dress, so she most definitely would. So have fun with it. Have fun with your youth. You ain't gonna have it forever, you know? And anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you have not subscribed already. And I'll see you next time. Bye!